One of the things that's fun to talk about is where the hell subgenres came from, and that's exactly what this video is about.
Kind of a controversial thing. Whoa, what are subgenres? What do they matter? I think they do matter, and this is why all of these are particularly awesome.
Djent is not really a genre. A lot of people think that, but it's definitely a style, and it's been identified and spun off into so many different bands, which is why we're going to talk about Meshuggah.
It's said that Meshuggah is the band that coined the term djent.
Not true. At least to my knowledge, we didn't coin that term.
Not Meshuggah.
Although I'm not the biggest fan of the style, Meshuggah did create an entire sound with their signature polyrhythmic approach, heard on albums as early as Future Breed Machine and Destroy Erase Improve, which is my personal favorite, by the way. It's funny, I went on a deep dive into Meshuggah trying to get into the band, and I actually think that the song Humiliative from 1994's album None is actually where you really heard the first earliest hints of the style of djent.
This is a band that I enjoy, but I don't listen to often. They just don't have that sort of replayability level for me, namely due to the intense barking vocals. No doubt that the talent of this band is off the charts. You've got bleeding edge talent in the guitar, in the percussion. Their whole discography just has this otherworldly trajectory.
They've also set the stage for being a live band too. A lot of people are converted when you see the band live, and it's obvious why.
The music was so complex. I didn't know what was going on. I didn't like so many of the songs, like the drummer's basically playing like a polyrhythm. He'd be playing in like 4. His feet are just, I don't know what, they're playing like a completely different song. And then the band is playing the rhythm to his feet.
It's tough to nail down one particular record that is responsible for djent, in my opinion. Rhythmically, I think it's fair to say that Chaosphere is where a lot of bands draw inspiration. It's really nothing from 2002, that staple guitar tone and using 8-string guitars that I think a lot of bands pick up from. Ever since Nothing was released in 2002, the band really solidified themselves as a total fucking league of their own, with loads of copycats doing completely new things with the style. Like it or not, the metal scene across the board respects the hell out of Meshuggah for a good reason, their undeniable contributions, and absolutely disgusting heaviness. This one's kind of fun to talk about. Alcest with the blackgaze subgenre. Nej, founding member of Alcest, is a pioneering member of the band and a pioneer of the blackgaze genre.
The first album that we put out was Souvenir dans l'autre monde, and it was really a strange type of music back then. If we had labels restrictions, I would have never been able to release something like this.
Blackgaze blends the aggressive elements of black metal with that ethereal, shoegazed influenced soundscape, and it sounds so good. The style can easily be traced back to their incredible Les Secrets EP from 2005. Nej's unique vision, inspired by childhood experiences and a lifelong search for spiritual connection, heavily influenced Alcest's sound. He aimed it to translate his otherworldly visions into music, creating a blend of harsh, distorted guitars and ethereal vocals that evoke both darkness and transcendence.
With spirituality, you always have a lot of questions and mysteries with it. It's not like religion, you don't have all the answers ready for you, like ready to use in a book or coming out of the mouth of some priest or some guy. You need to experience things by yourself.
This is one of my favorite subgenres, man. Alongside French band Led the Scrap, Nige and his fellow artists found a way to blend that beautiful atmosphere of dark wave, shoegaze, and post-rock with the ferocity of black metal. There's something so gripping about soft blast beats under a clean riff with like distant screams. It's that imperfect juxtaposition, that oil and water, that makes this subgenre so fucking powerful.
Alcest music reflects Nige's internal conflict, that struggle between earthly existence and his yearning for something beyond, and you can totally hear it in the music. Their music, although it changed since its inception, the early records have become synonymous with blackgaze, influencing countless bands and solidifying their place as distant and influential in the subgenre of metal and blackgaze itself. One of my favorite subgenres, melodic black metal, and we wouldn't have it without Dissection. Hailing from Sweden, Dissection can be credited as one of the pioneers, maybe the pioneer, of melodic black metal by fusing the aggressive elements of black metal with the melodic death metal sound prevalent in Gothenburg, Sweden. This unique blend, characterized by tritone chords, dark atmospheres, and the occasional folk influences, really set them apart from their contemporaries at the time.
Some of us did not appreciate what was going on. And I think my lifestyle was always about breaking boundaries and reaching beyond any normal level of existence.
Dissection created that Swedish black metal sound that dozens of bands still chase after, dude, even with the album artwork. Weird how some of
so many bands do that.
So, they're like, yep, we're just going to copy.
Dissection worship still exists in the 2020s.
It's wild, dude. It's been decades since the band hit their peak and faded into the black. But we cannot deny the staying power of what Dissection, particularly Storm of the Light Spain, I think, and maybe their longer follow-up, did for the black and death metal scene. They took it by the throat and sprinted to the darkness. That haunting, satanic atmosphere is perfect.
They influenced a wave of Swedish black metal bands that we just wouldn't have, including Nagelfar and Watain, who further developed and refined that black metal sound. While their discography is relatively short, Dissection's influence remains highly significant.
Some people realize that this is gone way too far. That's where the roads go different ways, Some people are prepared to step into the unknown and to, explore the dark for real.
Their innovative approach to blending genres, coupled with the unwavering commitment to their art, solidified their place as one of the most influential and revered bands in black metal history. More of a contemporary pick, Viljarda with the Thal sound.
Thal is a guitar technique that I would describe as a mixture of a specific type of distortion combined with low-tuned guitars and a more bending, expressive playstyle.
Viljarda is a Swedish metal band, and they invented the subgenre of Thal. Originally just an inside joke, which is kind of awesome. The term Thal eventually came to describe the unique blend of djent sounds, deathcore, and progressive metal. Fall is characterized by its unconventional approach to songwriting. It emphasizes jarring contrasts between clean guitar melodies and heavily distorted off-note riffs, often utilizing unexpected timings and polyrhythms. This creates a disorienting and highly unsettling atmosphere that a lot of people love, pushing the boundaries of traditional metal structures.
This is a super cutting edge new subgenre, so I'm still kind of on the fence to see if it sticks. For me, a subgenre sticks when other bands start incorporating those tropes or sounds into their music. What do you think? Will they be the sole torchbearers of the subgenre, or will other bands pick up on the sound? Leave your thoughts down below.
All the fall type bands, which is like this new wave of down-tuned technical music, they're combining the clean guitars with a lot of reverb that kind of has that emotion to it. At the same time, on top of that, you have these super down-tuned, ignorant, almost atonal guitars. You have these two things working with and against each other. That kind of gives me the entire emotional palette I want to hear at the same time, you know.
I think we're starting to hear more of it, especially now that like Buster Oldholm is so prominent in the scene and on things like Nail the Mix, and a lot of production people are revering him. While some argue it's simply a subgenre of djent, which I could totally see, Thal's distinctive use of dissonance and unexpected melodic shifts and emphasis on creating an unsettling atmosphere, I think kind of sets it apart. Gorguts with dissonant death metal, one of my favorite subgenres. So many great modern bands in it, and we wouldn't have it without Gorguts.
Even if you have the best riff, if it's in a bad context and badly arranged, it's not gonna work. So it really changed my ear for arrangement. So it brought this attention to detail. It made me writing metal song more orchestrated.
It's tough to pick the defining album where dissonant death metal started. Like in 1993, death metal kind of started to get more technical, right? You got Death's individual thought patterns, Cynic's Focus, Demilich's Nespith. But I would absolutely argue that we would not have the killer modern dissonant death metal scene, bands like Ulcerate, Portal, Nightmare, without Gorguts releasing Obscura in 1998. The record defied convention by incorporating complex atonal structures and jarring time signatures into the established framework of what death metal was at the time. This highly innovative approach, characterized by its challenging and unconventional nature, had a very profound and lasting impact on the genre.
I tried to bring a storytelling aspect in the structure because it has to be interesting with no vocals. To me, it's very important. If you can listen to the song and it keeps your attention, there's vocals, it's going to work. But for now, it's like, no, it has to work with no voice.
This was a band that took death metal and flipped it. What was normally considered to be a straightforward, more aggressive take on thrash metal, Gorguts approached death metal with a particular feeling in mind. Discomfort.
Yep.
Instead of a train getting dropped in your lap, listening to a Gorguts album is more akin to dungeon diving through a musty crypt. The overwhelming feeling of dread that any of their albums carry is wild.
I mean, first time you hear Possessed, Seven Churches, hello? You can't go back.
Gorguts' influence on subsequent generations of death metal bands is completely undeniable. Their innovative approach to songwriting and their willingness to experiment with unconventional sounds paved the way for the development of dissonant death metal as a very distinct subgenre. Bathory for Viking metal, one of my favorite Viking metal bands, also credited with being one of the pioneering bands of black metal, alongside bands like Venom and Merciful Fate.
One road to Osabay. It took 250 people, 8 horses, a lot of clothing and feeding, driving and acting myself as well.
My favorite era of Bathory, though, is Bloodfire Death in 1988, Hammerheart in 1990, and Twilight of the Gods in 1991, which is considered to be the birth of the Viking metal sound. Bathory, led by Corthan, is credited with inventing Viking metal. While initially embracing black metal, he shifted the band's focus in the late 1980s, incorporating themes of mythology and a heavier, much more epic sound.
A band we don't talk about probably nearly as much as we should. Simply put, Bathory forged a sound that was still new at the time.
We are trying to come up with a personal musical identity and get away from everything what people thought of us before. People tend to have these preconceived notions about you when you, for 7 years, has been playing rather speed-oriented metal, and once you change, it's not a change overnight, it's a change that has been going on for 2 years.
But we take that for granted these days because this subgenre is just so damn commonplace in another way. Usually when people think of Viking metal, we immediately go to bands like Ensiferum or Ramon Amarth, which, okay, sure.
We are willing and eager. We are leaving the dark.
But Bathory, they were the OGs, man, and I'm not even sure that their sound is really akin to what we would consider to be modern Viking metal. It really is still its own thing.
The innovative approach to blending that heavy metal sound with Viking imagery and themes solidified Bathory's place as a massive pioneering force in the evolution of the Viking metal subgenre. Just absolutely incredible albums that every metal fan should check out.
Candlemass, Epic Doom.
Some of our albums has been known to be quite depressive, but Nightfall was mostly around death. Doom metal is maybe just a good name, you know.
The 1986 release of Epicus Doomicus Metallicus is a cornerstone of the low, slow, soaring subgenre of epic doom metal. Hell, the name of the subgenre is right there in the album title. How much more eponymous can you really get? While Black Sabbath honed that stoned, fuzzed-out doom sound, Candlemass took sorrow in a different direction, blending European trad metal sounds with operatic vocals in those heavy-as-hell riffs.
I will play for you this wicked melody.
In late 1984, Leif Edling founded Candlemass in Sweden with a singular ambition to reign supreme as the heaviest band on earth.
Candlemass is not a satanic band or a religious band. It's just basically stories about good and evil.
He stated that they aimed to be more metal and more intense than anyone else. Candlemass delivered on this audacious promise. Their signature sound, a grandiose, distinctly Northern European blend, found its apotheosis in Solitude. The breaking opener from their 1986 debut, Epicus Doomicus Metallicus. This melancholic masterpiece, a half-tempo symphony of sorrow, perfectly fused heaviness with grandeur. Solitude remains a towering monument of doom metal 4 decades after its release. As Leif aptly states, Solitude is their paranoid, and I agree.
The Melvins with some sludge. I love what our channel does here, man. We aren't afraid to dip our toes into metal-adjacent genres. That sludge has more in common with grunge than it does with death metal, but hey, that's all right.
It's like you get into these particulars, well, this is death metal. Well, to me, it's heavy metal is heavy metal. I like all forms of it, and most of it is crap, just like in all forms of music. Most of it is crap, while they find a little diamond here and there in a bunch of shit.
While bands like Flipper and Black Flag experimented with slowing down hardcore riffs, the Melvins took it to the absolute next step. They weren't a doom band. If you compare Gluey Porch Treatments to Trouble or Candlemass, the distinction between sludge and doom becomes completely obvious. The Melvins retained a fierce, defining punk spirit, which is why I love the band. Just as Black Sabbath pioneered doom, Gluey Porch Treatments can be considered a pioneering moment for sludge metal.
Less to do with playing perfect and more to do with the vibe of what it is you're doing. Now it's just about the sound. Like, I'm not concerned with technical ability. I'm not concerned with any of that stuff. The only thing I'm concerned with is how the song works. That's it.
It's impossible to overstate the album's influence on the genre, inspiring countless bands from I Hate God to Kailiza and beyond to create unforgettable sludge music.
The staying power of this band is just apparent, man, with their last album in 2024 being pretty damn good.
And nobody talked about it.
So much. It was a dark time for us. The whole
They may never release another Stoner Witch or Houdini again, but god damn, we are grateful to have grown up in an era where the Melvins carried the sludge bucket for the rest of us to enjoy. Black Sabbath with doom metal. We didn't put this one on here. You would have had a mutiny. Rightfully so. We would have just given you the ship. The stars aligned with this band.
With your name, Black Sabbath, I suppose a lot of people tend to think of you as practicing black magicians or something. Do you find this a lot?
Oh yeah, we do actually. It's just
that's the early days. That was
it's like a thing that started when we started.
Whether you're into the Ozzy or the Dio era, the combination itself of Bill Ward, Geezer Butler, and Tony Iommi is a trio that the gods themselves created for our amusement, man. They're not only the creators of stoner doom, but they are very often credited with pushing the heavy metal genre into new heights, alongside bands like Dio, Deep Purple, and Rainbow.
It's like, why did you pick the name in the first place?
Well, why did the Beatles pick the Beatles? Nobody knows.
But this is a name which has got connotations Black Sabbath, hasn't it?
Well, so the Rolling Stones got something to do with landslides.
Black Sabbath's eponymous 1970 debut is widely considered the genesis of doom metal, and for good reason. It's pretty obvious why.
What is this that stands before me?
The album opens with a chilling soundscape of rain, thunder, and mournful church bells, culminating in that iconic dissonant tritone that is cornerstone to the metal genre. The album's foundation of heavy distortion, gloomy lyrics, and slow to mid tempos undeniably foreshadows the emergence of doom metal.
Nearly every band on this list, doom metal or not, can reach back in time and attribute some level of inspiration to Black Sabbath.
We like the name Black Sabbath, so we just like the name, That's all it is, just a name, Black Sabbath.
And we've got obviously a lot of other people liked it as well. Yeah.
At this point, it's practically impossible not to. If you've ever picked up a guitar and turned up the distortion, thank Tony Iommi. If you ever slapped the bass so fucking hard your fingers bled, thank Geezer Butler. If you've ever smashed through a pair of drumsticks, Bill Ward's got your back. Alongside British giants Napalm Death, Carcass emerged from the UK metal scene as sort of a joke. Their debut album was pretty sloppy, all things considered. Even the band didn't care for the production of that record.
We recorded Reconstruction in '87, which is probably the most horriblest, brutalist, sickest record that genre. In a way, that was the end of death metal as far as I'm concerned, which is a really hard to define thing, like I was saying earlier. Metallica were called death metal when they started. I mean, to me, death metal is a period of time from about, 84 through to about 87.
But when a British radio DJ, John Peel, caught wind of that album, took it and ran with it, launching the band to new heights. I will say, despite Reek of Putrefaction being a challenging listen, it does have its own quirks and characteristics that would quickly become solid tropes for this subgenre.
Carcass, emerging amidst the grindcore explosion, injected a unique element, a lyrical fixation on medical terminology with graphic gore. This innovation birthed the subgenre of gore grind. It was virtually single-handedly. The band's influence is completely undeniable. The term carcass worship became synonymous with the genre itself.
It's only natural that extreme music's going to get absorbed into the mainstream. That's where we're at now, where there's an actual industry built around extreme metal. People are starting groups expecting to be popular, which is the exact reverse of what it used to be.
Pitch-shifted vocals, an obsessive fascination with the morbid and surgical, scalpel-sharp riffs defying gore grind. Carcass pioneered the sound, dude. 3 decades and countless gore grind releases later, many excellent fucking bands, by the way. No band has really surpassed the groundbreaking achievement that Carcass started.
Without Carcass, dude, we wouldn't have bands like Ghoul, Impaled, Exhumed, and so many others that have just sprinted out of this subgenre. Suffocation! The pioneers of brutality, New York death metal was a force to be reckoned with, bro. Alongside bands like Mortician, Skinless, and Malignancy. Suffocation demonstrated a blueprint of death metal that would go on to change the game for decades.
The scene in 1988 and the early 90s was the most amazing scene you will ever see, period. And nothing compares to it. And there were shows every single weekend. So many amazing bands that had come out at that point in time. It was just the most amazing feeling of just going to shows in and out and it being packed.
Often considered to be the precursor to slam death metal, brutal death metal took a much sharper approach to the genre with down-tuned guitars, those guttural vocals even lower than you might expect, vicious technical bridges, and complexity that would make most musicians' hair turn gray.
Their 1991 opus, Effigy of the Forgotten, stands as the inaugural release of brutal death metal as a genre. While Cannibal Corpse at the time, spearheaded by Chris Barnes, guttural vocals was initially considered the pinnacle of heaviness, Suffocation's 1991 EP, Human Waste, offered a taste of something more extreme. This EP featured 3 tracks that would later appear on Effigy and a 4th that would be re-recorded for their 1995 album, Pierce from Within, redefined heaviness for death metal fans. Within the first few minutes of Pierce from Within, I remember thinking to myself, wait, what the fuck? Death metal can do that? That's where we got brutal death metal.
Slam death metal, brutal death metal, they are that disgusting effigy coming out of the cityscape. We have Suffocation to thank for nearly every single one of those bands. Neurosis post-metal. This is in the top 3 of my favorite subgenres, and to say that this band has had a lasting impact on our own personal songwriting and musicianship would be an understatement.
The idea of trying to go places where you're not comfortable and become comfortable in them is what's kind of led us to this point, you know?
But yeah, I think that Neurosis has a pretty antisocial vibe in a lot of ways. I mean, it's always been a super selfish expression.
Neurosis emerged from San Francisco in the hardcore scene in 1985, blending metallic aggression with those crusty undertones. Over time, they started to experiment with texture and dynamics, laying that groundwork for what post-metal became with their 1992 album, Souls at Zero. However, it was, in my opinion, in their 1996 masterpiece, Through Silver and Blood, that the true solidified sound and influence on the genre would take form.
Their legacy has left a lasting impact on the metal scene. Bands like Isis, Cult of Luna, The Ocean, Harakiri for the Sky, and so many more that we love have Neurosis to thank.
Neurosis is one of those things that it's like, sure, people that connect with it and they find it becomes a pretty significant thing to them. We haven't suffered more than anybody else out there in the world, you know. But for some reason, it's, you know, the kind of the reoccurring theme of our art and what we do.
That harrowing blend of post-hardcore, post-rock, sludge, doom, it feels cold, metallic, and gray. There's something distant yet so familiar about their haunting music. They're just one of the best to do it, man.
What are some bands that you want to hear us talk about in terms of subgenres? Drop them down in the comments below. I'm sure we missed a bunch. We could do a part 2 to this video. Thumbs up the video. Really helps us out.
Go with the gods. Forge mates, the silver is in your blood.